Alright, so there was actually a slight little interruption there. I ended up having to go to bed and stuff, so it's now the next morning. But yes, where were we? We just finished that last puzzle. And we've got the code, or what we believe to be the code from that. And we'll see just how much left there is. Whether there's a big fancy ending or if it's just, congratulations! 3, 5, 7, 9, 2. See if this was right. Come on! Yay! Finn. I think thee for playing. Come on, world, load. This is a very long hallway of pillars. This is where we have to check and make sure we're not just being teleported back endlessly. Because it's just the sort of thing you'd expect. I still seem to be making progress. How far does this go? Let's just check. $3,900. Ah, here we go. Thou art correct. This is indeed the end. Ah, yeah, so those little things are actually Easter eggs. And I think there's like a special code which does something fancy, which may, I'm not sure. But, yeah, I was reading up a little bit last night. Because I'd pretty much finished anyway, I was like, well, let's just read about it. So yes, that's the end of the map. I guess cheats aren't on it, are they? No. I guess we have to do that. Hopefully that will work. And let's just take a tour around the inner workings and just give our final thoughts upon this map. Oh, and the sheer length of this room. It would be a funny troll though if he did do that teleport thing here as well. So you just keep running endlessly thinking you're getting somewhere. And then you could possibly have it so maybe that Easter egg thing would stop that or something. But again, different idea from what ended up happening. Whoop. Secret. Ah, yeah, see, there's another one. 3, 8, 7. I wonder if that says anything. No. Maybe that's just a secret about the order, because it's a link to something. So I don't know if I'll go and bother checking through all of those and finding that. But yeah, so where was it? 28 is a good exit. We can have a bit of a look around everything and see what it looks like from the outside, which is a nice thing to do after, you know, well, of course we've had our various guesses about how things work. This would be that wall of pumpkins and lights, and you can see how that actually works. Quite ingenious. Holy moly. I'm guessing this is the main hallway place? No. This looks like... Yeah, so these are all the things that open all the different doors, it looks like. So this will be like a sorter, which checks the code. There you go. So that's that one. So that here, this is it. So this is where you throw the thing in, and it looks like it goes in there and checks. Yes, basic sorting system. a bit different. That seems to be randomly there for no reason. But yeah, so it'll check that. And so if it gets all the way to the end here... Okay, so there's that one. Interesting. Not sure what that one's for. But if it gets all the way to the end here, it looks like it then pops it back in there. So it looks like a delay extender thing. That's where it says it doesn't recognize it and sends it all the way back here. And that's why it takes so long for that to happen. Very clever. I guess these little spawner guys... Oh, that's the jump potion one. That's the villager one, I guess. Or, I don't know. Some of these are probably like just the proximity detectors that run everything. That thing keeps disconnecting randomly. I'll have to do something about that. But yes. Okay, which one's this one? Okay, so this one's the death counter. I never... Is this the one I'm thinking of? No. Yeah, so quite a lot of clocks and things working. And these are all the little teleporty guys that do the whole warp infinite random craziness thing, I guess. So really from here it doesn't actually look that big at all, but I guess there's all the workings and stuff that make it work. Which room was this one? Oh, this is the battle room. Are there separate rooms for that? Or is that something else? Anyway, there's a bit of a look at the workings. Ooh, this would be like... What's this come connected to? Some crazy thing. That looks like it's connected to the main thing, so maybe this is... This is giving you things. Not sure about that. But yeah, there's a general gist of it. That's just nuts. All this wiring. I guess, you know, something like this looks crazily complicated. It's like a million things, but remember, like for this, each of these is pretty much just a straight wire from A to B going to a door, I'd imagine. So it's like, that's actually a very simple thing. Whereas this bit here is probably much more complicated. Oh, and there's got signs on it telling you all the codes. Quite nifty. So let's find the entrance. Oh, hi there. Yeah, so that's where the entrance is. I'm just trying to see if I can find the bit we broke. Yeah, here it is. Let's fix it. Oh, no! Too many books. They spawn that on that hopper and it goes straight in. That's how it's always endless. Alright, so general overall review. I've very much enjoyed this map. Very enjoyable. I think, tongue-tied, but yeah, I like the basic system. I think a little bit like more of an introduction. I guess there was that bit of intro at the start, but something about just mention the idea of to enter the code, rename the page with an animal, chuck it in the hopper, which I'd gotten from reading the post, but I don't think it was actually mentioned in the map itself. Like just a little bit more detail. It was like fairly good. I liked I guess the general point is it's supposed to be all mysterious and you figuring things out, but I think something like just mentioning that would have been enough to get you started, which, you know, I'd read anyway. So yeah, first, yeah, I found this one fairly simple. It was just a matter of figuring out what the different things mean and getting the order. So yeah, I think good. I like the way it sort of built you up to the ideas, like you go to here, return, you're like, wait, what's that? You find out that, and then it brings you back to there for other ones, and then with this one, how you come in here twice from both sides, but it sort of builds that up gently through this. You're like, wait, this is the same room as I was in before, but it's different. What's different? And then you realize that that's dropped down and it's now showing a different order. But that sort of brings you up to the idea so that in future, like when you come to this one, when you get to that bit that's a dead end, you're like, wait, oh, I bet I'm going to come back there later. So I like the idea it sort of worked you gently into that. Yeah, I liked the way that, you know, the different puzzles had names, which was sort of a subtle hint in some cases as to what to do. This one, some people would mention, like, jumping puzzle is a little bit sort of a thing. Like, the general map is more just a puzzle, so something that's skill-based like this seems to be not so much. But again, the jumps are very simple, I'd say. As far as, like, I didn't really have any problems with doing the jumps. It was just that little sneaky bit there about figuring out that you don't jump to that one, you got to jump to here. And apart from that, it's pretty much is just knowing where to jump. And so, I don't know. I consider myself better than average at jumping puzzle type things, but even so, I thought this was fairly simple. Yeah, this one was very interesting. Just trying to remember everything, but yeah, I think, yeah, I like the idea where you come back here and it's like, wait, nothing, that's the same, what's changed? And then it's like everything becomes crazy. Yeah, love the idea of the way that everything just wraps around and comes back to here. Sound one was, yeah, pretty good thing. You know, the idea that they've got this to help you to test, so you can test what sound each one makes, if you're unaware of that. Obviously it would be a bit weird if they just gave you the code and didn't tell you. But yeah. Very crazy when you get to these ones and you're like, wait, it's gone. There's the pistons that do that. But yeah, and you're like, well, where's it gone? And then you remember back to that other bit. Well, there was that bit where there was something. Let's see if it's there. And it turns out it was. This one I very much liked the whole infinite staircase thing. And it's like, wait, what? Am I here? And yeah, again, you figure it out, and I realized it was like the teleporting, and I'm like, aha, that's how they're doing it. But it was still very, very well implemented, the fact that you walk around here, and I'm just walking around in a circle, and I'm going to different places. So again, very well executed like that. Where's the end of it? Ah, here we go. Maybe there's a bit of a problem, because I think you're supposed to only go past the 5 once, and I did end up going it, like the first 2 times, I ended up wandering past it twice. Maybe it's a little bit broken now, because some things have shut off, I don't know. But, yeah. So I found that a little bit of a... Hang on a sec. I seem to be stuck. So that's... oh, that's right, you have to press the button. Derp. But yeah, other than that, I very much like the idea that it's like, wait, now I'm back here. Okay, we'll go down and out. No, you can't. You've got to go all the way up the top. And then you come out back at that other place. And the transition there of the teleport is definitely amazing. how it's like, ooh, which is this room, and there's one of your Easter eggs, and you come through and it's not actually there, and that's actually a replica of that room and everything, which is very crazy, and you're like, wait, there was that other thing behind there, how did I come out of there? So yeah, I love all those crazy warpy interactions that just mess with your head and make you think. This was the one that a lot of people had commented, the YouTube one, that they didn't really like, and again, I sort of don't like it's kind of a fun treasure hunt thing, you have to go through all the clues and piece it together, but I don't quite like the idea that, first of all, it involves reliance upon videos that are out there, which I do like the idea of getting some other random people involved. It also adds a support to some smaller channels and stuff out there, but at the same time it seems like a big part of the map, or at least a big part of this puzzle, involves puzzling external sources other than the game itself. And there were enough clues to direct you to that, so it wasn't like, what do I have to do? But at the same time it feels like a little bit of breaking the idea of this puzzle, or this map, being a thing, so I don't know. Again, very well done and executed though, in spite of that. Yeah, I liked the lighting one here. It was a clever idea how they did with all the levers that turn on and then off. Like, again, I sort of clued on to the second part of this puzzle and was trying to read that at first. But when I figured that out, it was crazy. But yeah, and I like the fact that they, again, this was a space where they reused the same puzzle room and had two different puzzles in it. Very clever how they had it with this lever, so like when you come in here the first time you're like, well, there's a room in there with a lever, but there's no clue as to what it's for and it doesn't seem relevant, and then you come in the second time into it and suddenly everything makes sense because you go in here and it's like, oh. And the subtle hint about the smooth lighting there, just in case you hadn't figured that out already. The experience one, this was one that, again, I was stumped for a little while, but mainly because I was just being silly and unobservant and not noticing that number there. Or I didn't try and actually stand on top of the thing, I'm not sure. Weird, go figure. So yeah, my own fault for taking so long on that one. 16, we said that one. Velocity, I think, again, this map, like, its main purpose is meant to be like a puzzle map, and here we are with suddenly dropping challenges, which are fun, and yeah, I like them, but I think they were a little bit too challenging for the fact that the map's meant to be about the puzzles. Like, some of them, they weren't too bad, but it got to the point where it was just frustrating, rather than it's like, I know what to do, I'm just suffering the challenge of doing it, which is less of a good thing. I love, though, the idea that the exit, suddenly you're back in this place again with that, and it's like, what? So again, very much a fan of all the random warping to different places. The QR code one, again, yeah, it was fairly simple to get. I like the fact that they, you know, were able to make the QR code work and stuff. Again, some people have complained about it. I think the actual hint, if you go and get the hint button at the start, gives you a hint about, maybe, I think there might be a link to a website that you can just upload a screenshot of that on, and it'll tell you the number. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to go and have the app to do it, but again, it requires something external to the map, which seems a little bit, yeah, I'm not such a big fan of. I like, again, it's a very cool idea and it's well done, but the fact that it requires something that's external and some external knowledge about what a QR code is a thing that, again, doesn't really work so well, I think. Which, you know, it's kind of hard because it is a very cool idea for a puzzle to have, but again, it's kind of hard to figure out how. Possibly if maybe even just in the map description on before you download it, somewhere it mentioned the fact that it does require some external online research or something for some things. Might have, yeah, made some of those problems a little bit less of a thing, because, you know, you come along here with no idea about that and you're just unprepared for it. This one I found a little bit finicky trying to get the things, and a bit tedious just pressing the buttons to line that up. Again, but nice use of the item frames and the clocks. Again, it's a thing that to work properly you need the default texture pack, so I mean obviously I could just switch over, and thanks to the fact that it's now on the options menu you can do that in game, so it's not too much of a problem, but a little bit breaking in some cases. Possibly maybe could have mentioned again in the description something about some puzzles might require or work a lot better with the default texture pack. Again, there was a little bit of finicky with the stuff, but once I figured out what these things actually meant, and it was actually the center one, the ones in between didn't mean anything. Once I figured that out, it was okay, but that got me a little bit distracted, so I don't know, maybe some way of figuring it out to where it's a bit more clear about that. The glitch one, the glitchy effect was kind of funky and crazy how it happened, but at the same time it was also very disturbing and confusing. This is the first one I actually had to look up a hint for, so I think the actual clue wasn't that obvious. Like, it was just you look in your tab thing and the number it showed the different bits of the clue, which that's for the next one. I'm just trying to find where the actual thing about it is. Yeah, so these set the scoreboard. Yeah, and if you do notice there, as well as that T there is an A and a B, which are always there. So that would have actually told me tab if I'd noticed that, but again, a little bit not really obvious enough, I think. Oh, is that like a random collection of all the Easter eggs or something? Anyway, so yeah, I think they could maybe make that a little bit more obvious. Sort of like connected, because you got all these paintings, and I think they did actually have it, so it was each, or different places you had the number. But in any case, again, a little bit confusing and wasn't really any obvious one. This is another one that involves external knowledge. So like, I was a bit fed up trying to figure out whether that was a clue, and it didn't seem to mean anything. Possibly if it was, I don't know if it did actually mean something, but, and the fact that you had all the binary numbers flashing there, which I did think that's probably a binary number, but maybe that was a bit misleading because I was trying to think of something involving that and then using the number. But again, if people aren't familiar with binary and how that works, they might be a bit more stuck. Which again, the puzzles in these are meant to be hard and tricky, but generally I'd say, as a general guideline, a puzzle should be hard and tricky because the puzzle's hard and tricky, not because you need to know something specific to be able to figure it out. So in this case it was one where you needed to know about binary and, you know, where you can find out how to decode it. Again, the hint told you could Google it and that would tell you. But again, external knowledge is, yeah, just one of the ones I didn't like so much. And the same with this one. Like, it gave you a pretty good clue as to F3 and the B, you're looking for the biome, but the fact that all it tells you is the name of the biome and there's no actual biome ID, and you have to know enough about Minecraft and biomes and stuff to know to look up on the wiki to find out what the IDs for those is. So again, external knowledge, and if someone was fairly new to the game, it was just like, here's a fun puzzle map. I guess maybe if they're new to the game they shouldn't be trying something such as a complicated puzzle map, but maybe some sort of things that it requires. It's kind of hard to say what you do, because again, it's a nice, clever way of hiding a secret in a place you wouldn't normally look, the F3, specifically the biome section, because it doesn't seem really relevant to anything, but again, it's a little bit like, you need to go, I needed to think, biomes, where can I find the IDs? I need to go to the wiki and I need to go and look that up. External research and knowledge seems a little bit breaking it for me. The gem puzzle, I kind of like the idea. I think apparently it was a little bit unclear as to exactly how the moves worked for the thing. For me, I just got a little bit stuck trying to figure out what the whole point was, and maybe I could have figured it out if I'd really put the effort into it, but I was getting pretty late and I was feeling tired anyway, so I just kind of just skipped through, read the clues, said, yeah, I can see how that's what you move, then read it off here to figure out the answer. So, yeah, maybe if I'd taken a break earlier or something, or split it up differently, and not being so tired and frustrated from these other tricky puzzles, I would have actually bothered to put the effort in, but as it was, I didn't. But again, I think it wasn't exactly the most clear how the moves work. Like, there weren't very many hints as to what, which again, you don't really want there to be hints everywhere, but some indication as to what happens could be nice. Alright, the merge one. This was, I found this one was pretty good, the way it worked. A little bit harder to read and piece together, but that's kind of the point of it being a puzzle, I guess. And I didn't find it much of a problem. Again, I guess I'm generally, compared to some people, I'm fairly good at being able to visualize those shapes. Like, I saw that and recognized that as a number, and then I was able to figure out all the rest. So, yeah, I didn't have really any problem with it. So yeah, I think it was a pretty nice use of just subtle random bars and you having to figure out that they spell out numbers. The draw one, yeah, I like this. I think these were fairly well done. Just, you know, little scribbly drawings, and I guess it could have been a bit confusing to some people. I found it fairly simple. Like, I was like, jump. There was a puzzle called that. There was something else. These, and yeah, I was able to figure out that these were actually references to the previous puzzles. And then I thought, well, then I realized when they were all in the first 10 or first 9 puzzles, I realized, well, each one could be the digit and this is the order, because there's a little number in the corner. So yeah, figured out fairly simple. Nice use of the maps and the item frames and having everything visible like that. I think it worked quite well in the end. Deja vu. Which one was this one? Oh, that's right. Just with the, yeah, that was just a clue to the jumping thing, I guess. But yeah, up here, again, nice use of lights that come on, but certain ones don't. I quite like that. It's a nice little subtle way of hiding a thing that's, well, not that subtle. I mean, it's fairly simple, but you have to go and look through everything to make sure you've not missed something. And yeah, I think that worked quite nicely. Can I get out, please? No. One cannot get out. With 28, this one was, I quite like the idea of suddenly it's breaking out and you're like, wait, is this meant to happen? Did they break the map? And, you know, pressing things. And it's cool, you get a glimpse of the world outside as well, which is quite nice, and you get to start that idea of, wow, this is everything. And that kind of fact that you feel a little bit like, wait a second, am I supposed to be here? Is this a mistake? And then when you're looking at this stuff and realizing this doesn't really make much sense. This is just for me to jump over, isn't it? And the little puzzles about having to do that to get the thing down, and then to extend the bridge out was little subtle redstone-y type puzzles. But again, the fact that you had to kind of have already figured out this was the actual puzzle and wasn't you accidentally breaking everything. It's kind of nice. I found, again, like that stretch along there was fairly simple. Here it got a little bit parkour-y type jumpy puzzle. Never figured out if there was like a proper vantage point. because it looks like you're supposed to view it from up here, but again, there's no real way to do that, so you're supposed to just progress across the whole thing. Not entirely sure whether like, I got up to here, didn't I? Up to this 2 here, so I couldn't find a way across. So, and yeah, like you saw, I was just dropping and looking up at it, and just because of the angle and stuff, I didn't quite figure out the 1. To me, it didn't really resemble a 1, but I guess also because it's like, it's not just an ordinary 1, it's the fancy 1, which made it a little bit more confusing and misleading. So in the end, I actually had to just look it up in the hint thing, which told you the answer. So again, I like the idea of the random things shaping to make the numbers, and it's like from down here you wouldn't really realize that. So very clever. Maybe, possibly, it would be good to have it a little bit more clear as to what exactly, or where exactly you're supposed to be able to see it from, or which way to go, because it is a bit of a mess in there. And I guess, again, it's supposed to be puzzly, but it's more of a jumpy going to puzzle rather than a thinking puzzle, so I don't know, it seems a little bit not so much in character with everything else. Other than that, very cool idea. I like the whole breaking out effect. Retrospect, this one was very cleverly done. Again, it's more of that whole warpy thing. Here's somewhere you've already been, and now there's even more stuff in there you didn't realize. This one here is crazy, the fact that you're looking through from here when it's actually not there. So it's like, it's not just one of those wrappy illusions, it actually is, well, it's an illusion, but it's a fate illusion. I guess all of the illusions are fate, really. But yeah, I like the idea. The problem with this one I found was just figuring out which order everything's meant to go in. It just made things a little bit more confusing, because, you know, you gotta figure out all the hints, and in the end, I figured it was based on the order you sort of find the levers in, but again, that's a little bit based on which order you walk through things in, because there was this one, then that one, and then the other ones around there or something. But yes, very, very clever puzzle. I like, again, the whole wrappy thing, but would have been nice to have some sort of clue as to the order, because that took me like 3 tries. Again, it wasn't like one where I was majorly stuck on and I had to look up or cheat or anything, but it took me a few turns to try and figure it out logically. The last one, which is last and you have to last. Cool idea. I like the sudden that it's combat, but it's about the puzzle. It's like, you know, there is combat involved, but the actual puzzle is noticing the number of kills you have to get before it moves on. So I like that subtleness, like, again, the use of having the kill counter there, and suddenly this happening, and you're like trying to figure out what's actually happening. So I think, yeah, that one was pretty well done. And yeah, fairly subtle. The other thing, I think, the velocity one I didn't mention, is that it showed up the death counter, which I don't think ended up actually being relevant to the clue, if I remember correctly. So that's a little bit of a or a red herring as such, because it was actually just getting through all the puzzles. So I think that's how it worked anyway. So seems to me like that was one of the things for me. It was like, I didn't realize that it was just going from one number to the next. I thought it was based on the number of deaths that I'd had. So I'm not quite sure what the purpose of that was, or if I missed something, but possibly that would be a thing. But yeah. So, final thoughts. There's a general overview of my thoughts on each puzzle, but the whole thing put together, very nice. I think there's definitely excellent use of all the new 1.5 features. Very well put together. A lot of fun, lots of puzzling. Again, some things are a little bit frustrating for reasons that, obviously it's supposed to be frustrating, it's a puzzle, but to the point where it seems a little bit unfairly so. But on the whole, very nicely done, excellently executed. Looks very nice, like the style. There's not a lot of variation in the design of the thing, but you don't really need that in a puzzle map. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, hopefully you do too. I don't know if you've already played this. If you're watching this, a big spoiler, but hopefully you enjoyed my puzzlings. So yeah, there's some final thoughts. Hopefully they'll be helpful, useful to people, or interesting. Thank you for watching. This has been Noxter, and I'll see you next time doing something else.